right? Marketing teams, as I said, are by brand. They create their own Excel files, their own budgets. This causes, first of all, consolidation headaches, right? So we as finance, we need to consolidate and provide one view by company, not by brand. As for understanding the budget, when you have a budget in place, a campaign in place, and you don't have proper documentation without clear audit trail, then people don't understand what happened in the past. We're talking about turnovers and things like that, audit pieces, right? That you go back and understand what triggered this campaign to happen, and you don't have an audit trail in place. Now, when we're looking at spend limits by brand, right, and committed spend with the vendor, in many cases, the marketers, as I said before, are not really aware of what's available to spend for their brand, because they don't have visibility of the actuals, right? They don't understand what comes through, what they can use and what they cannot use. PO setups. If there's no budget controls, right, you can create POs without a budget in place. So that can be a problem. And back to your point, Jim, that can create an overspend or an overspend in many cases, right? Financial accrual and processes invoice is an example. The challenges are not only for time spent, but also the accuracy, right? If we depend on Excel spreadsheet for a proof of spend forecast, and there's no interface between, your application and your ERP, how do you ensure that your accrual is correct, right? Like you depend on analysts, a team of human beings to actually give you what they think it is based on reports, right? So I think that's one of the challenges. And in the end, balance sheet reconciliations, as an example, we have manual process causing mistakes and time wasted, right? Again, you have thousands of campaigns, you have $600 million budget. So that's quite significant. And from an audit perspective, they normally challenge me in the past on what is the source of truth, right? Having an application like Uptempo will actually give you that, right? And in the end, it's just providing an actual proper aging of each campaign. And when I'm talking about aging, is meaning when it was launched, what are the actuals behind it, what is the accrual against that, right? And understanding if it's valid or not. It's a huge part of our business, right? We implemented Uptempo back in 2020. Now we have step-by-step dependencies and interface between the ERP and Uptempo. When I say dependencies, I talk about step 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, instead of having a PO in place or an invoice already being processed without a PO, that's not possible anymore. Now we have created dependencies, end-to-end dependencies. We now have a budget being managed by the marketing finance team. And this is going through the whole budget process, which is approved top-line budget, right? You cannot, and the next step will be entering a campaign in the application. You cannot enter a campaign in the application if you don't have a budget in place, right? So you cannot engage. You shouldn't engage a vendor if you don't have a campaign being done. Uptempo generates an automated accrual based on 1, approved campaigns to date, which are being offset by spend in SAP. Now, spend in SAP is so important because any invoice process against that approved PO will talk back to Allocadia. So that goes back to having the visibility for the marketer, how much money they have available for each of the campaigns, right? Because it's live data, really. Overall, it's really a great solution that we've been having with that, right? And this is all managed, again, by a team of really 5 individuals, including myself, right? And now we have like 90% of our time really spending on analysis, and compliance, which is so important in such a large corporation, and also we're publicly traded, right? So it's you need to have those controls in place. They have the visibility, right? So we're still business partner, as you can imagine, but it's a very different. Everything is in front of us, basically. Yeah. There's no analyst doing things in the background and try to give us a number. That doesn't exist anymore. I talk about the insights report, which will give us a non-compliance, right? That non-compliance report reflected on US dollar value, yeah, in real time, which really allowed us to reinvest over $1.5 million in Mucinex in December. Mucinex being good for cold and flu, that
Yeah.
came handy, right? And if you know, as a public traded company, if you don't invest that money in the year, you lose it.